This segment of the news is brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. A major drug bust on Grand Bahama leaves 4 males in police custody and the seizure of over $600,000 in suspected cocaine. Assistant Superintendent of Police Teresita Pinder, in her morning report, says shortly before 5 p.m. Tuesday, officers of the flying squad acting on intelligence went to the area of Dover Sound, East Grand Bahama. While in the area of Marlbrooks Drive, near a boat ramp, they observed 4 males near a white vessel with 2 130 HP engines. Officers approached the males and identified themselves. Officers searched the men, the vessel, and the immediate area and discovered in bushes 2 bags, each containing a substantial amount of suspected cocaine. Officers of the Drug Enforcement Unit were called to the scene. The 4 males were all taken into police custody, and the bags were handed over to the officers of the Drug Enforcement Unit. Total weight of the suspected cocaine, 60 pounds, with an estimated street value of $600,000. Investigation into this matter will continue. The introduction of a Freedom of Information Act has been a hot-button political topic for the past few election cycles, with each party promising to introduce and implement the act. On Sunday, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Senator Carl Bethel deemed it an historical day in the Bahamas as the Freedom of Information Office was officially opened with its new office in the Yandy building on University Drive. However, leader of the Coalition of Independents, Lincoln Bain, says what the government is doing is nothing but an election ploy.
It's not a genuine initiative on their part, because they would have done it from year one. There was nothing holding them back from doing this. The only thing they had to do was initiate a commissioner, to appoint a commissioner, I should say. And so it's very disingenuous at this point, when their term is just about over, to now bring this to fore. But the problem is, like I said, the act that they're bringing to the people is extremely flawed. And no one should take this seriously, because it leaves them with the power to not give us what they're promising. It's more of the same tricks. And I think Bahamian people, once they start to try to get information from this, they're going to realize that they have no power to really get information if the government doesn't want to give it.
Bain says the current Freedom of Information Act still contains tools and mechanisms that will allow the government to delay or deny access to certain information and documents. He gives this example.
So, for example, our organization revealed the lease and the agreement for Ocean Key recently in our documentary. But of course, if we were to apply in our Freedom of Information Act to get that information, the government could just say that, well, there's a private company involved, and releasing this information to you might put them at a disadvantage, so we're not releasing it to you.
Okay.
It also says that any deals that were meant to be secret should remain secret. So whereas that lease deal says that it should be kept secret from the Bahamian public, that means that under this new Freedom of Information Act, if you ask for that information, they will tell you they cannot give it to you because the deal is meant to be kept confidential. And so what's the point of having this Freedom of Information Act?
Bain says should the Coalition of Independents be successful in the next general elections, they will absolutely introduce a proper Freedom of Information Act. Demolition activities in the farm, a shanty town on Abaco, is set to continue this week. This much coming from Minister of Public Works Desmond Bannister on Tuesday. He adds that once demolition in that unregulated community is complete, the teams will move on to other shanty towns. Now, last month, 45 incomplete and unoccupied structures in that area were demolished. The ministry also announced that it was moving into phase 2 of the operation, which included erecting large signs posted prominently throughout the area, which warned in English and Creole that structures in violation of the building code will be demolished. Incomplete and unoccupied structures had 14 days notice.
Thursday makes 28 days. We couldn't go into occupied structures until 28 days have passed. And so we are going in the third phase beginning this week. Our people are mobilized and ready to do what they have to do. I've tried not to speak too much on this because of the dignity of persons involved. and protect their dignity, but at the same time we can enforce the law as is required in this country. I'm very, very concerned about the impact, the health issues impacting our people as a result of what I see out there. And you could be assured that in the next week or so you're going to see some action that is going to happen.
In August 2018, Supreme Court Justice Cheryl Grant Thompson granted an injunction preventing the demolition of shantytowns, asked to respond to human rights activists who claim the government's violating the rule of law by continuing the demolition. While the shantytown judicial review is underway, Minister Bannister says this.
They raised that before the courts. That is not an issue that impacts this particular situation. The court ordered, and I tabled this in the House of Assembly. The court ordered nobody was supposed to go and construct any shantytown, any structures. It's very clear. There's an injunction against building any structures. That's been in place for almost 2 years. So how do we get hundreds of houses, hundreds of structures that people are living in violation of the law? And then if they sit there, believe me, if they sit there for a couple of years, they're going to be able to go to the Supreme Court and get certificates of title to that land and own that land. You as a Bahamian can't do that. You want to go out there and be able to acquire your land properly, own it properly, in accordance with the law, and live in a safe manner.
Minister Bannister adds that those structures are not safe, noting that if a hurricane comes around, many of them will be destroyed again, and if fires occur, which has happened in the past, there will be challenges. He also noted that feces is seeping into the groundwater table and that he's concerned about the health of the people in Abaco and other areas. He says the government has many challenges with these structures. Minister Bannister says every structure, with the exception of 30, which will not be demolished, were built in violation of a direct court order that said nobody was to build any structures or add to them. Stay with us. Our final story is up next.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.